The stars in the Kepler sector had not known peace for 800,000 years. In the cold darkness of space, two mighty alien races fought a war that had lasted longer than most civilizations existed. The Zephyrians, beings made of living crystal, faced off against the Nexari, creatures that mixed flesh with metal in ways that made no sense to other species. Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Defiance, looking at the star charts that showed the battleground. Ahead, the human ship moved through space like a silent ghost, its crew of 50 preparing for what might be the most important mission in galactic history. Morrison was 35 years old, with brown hair and steady blue eyes that had seen too much. Combat, but nothing in his experience had prepared him for this. "Captain, we're getting signals from the war zone," said Lieutenant Amy Burke, his second in command. She was a small woman with red hair and quick hands that danced across her control panel. "The fighting is getting worse. Both sides are preparing for something big." Morrison nodded. He had read the reports, studied the history, and still could not believe what he had learned. The Zephyrians and Nexari had been killing each other for longer than humans had existed. What started as a fight over crystal mines had become something much worse. Now entire star systems lay dead, their planets turned to ash and rock. Dr. Carl Whitney, the ship's science officer, walked up to Morrison with a tablet in his hands. Whitney was older than most of the crew, with gray hair and glasses that made him look like a teacher. "Captain, I've been studying the battle reports. The numbers are incredible. They've destroyed over 10,000 worlds, billions of lives lost." "How did it go on for so long?" Morrison asked, though he already knew the answer. "Pride," Whitney said. "Both sides have weapons that can crack planets. Both sides have shields that can stop those weapons. They're perfectly matched. Every time one side gets stronger, the other side catches up. It's like watching two giants punch each other forever." The bridge fell quiet. Morrison looked at the faces of his crew. They were all young, all human, all volunteers who had signed up for a mission that no one fully understood. Earth's leaders had told them they were going to try something new, something that might end the longest war in galactic history. Lieutenant Danny Cooper, the communications officer, spoke up from his station. "Captain, we're getting a message from the Galactic Council. They want to know our position." Morrison almost smiled. The Galactic Council was made up of dozens of alien species, all older and supposedly wiser than humanity. They had been watching the Zephyrian-Nexari war for thousands of years, too afraid to step in. But now they were asking humans for help. "Tell them we're on schedule," Morrison said, "and remind them that we're doing this our way." The truth was, nobody really knew what the human way was going to be. Earth had joined the galactic community only 50 years ago, when alien visitors had arrived and found humans still fighting wars with bullets and bombs. Most alien species thought humans were cute, but harmless, like children playing with toys. That was about to change. Sergeant Maria Santos, the head of the ship's small marine unit, walked onto the bridge. She was tough and strong, with scars on her hands from years of fighting. "Captain, my people are ready. But I have to ask, what exactly are we ready for?" Morrison looked at her, then at the rest of his crew. They deserved to know the truth, even if it sounded impossible. "We're going to stop an 800,000-year war in less than an hour." The bridge went silent again. Then Lieutenant Burke laughed, a short, sharp sound. "No pressure, right, Captain?" "The thing is," Morrison continued, "we're not going to do it the way anyone expects. We're not going to fight them. We're not going to talk to them. We're going to show them something they've never seen before." Dr. Whitney pushed his glasses up his nose. "The council thinks we're crazy. They've tried everything: diplomacy, economic pressure, even military intervention. Nothing worked. The Zephyrians and Nexari have been killing each other for so long, they don't remember how to stop. But we do, Morrison said. Humans have ended wars before. We've done it by being smarter, not stronger. We've done it by thinking differently. The ship's AI, a computer system called Athena, spoke in a calm female voice. Captain, we will reach the battle zone in 6 hours. Both alien fleets are gathering for what their communications suggest will be a final battle. Combined fleet strength is approximately 20,000 ships. Morrison felt his stomach tighten. 20,000 ships, each one powerful enough to destroy a planet. And they were taking 50 humans in one ship to stop them. Athena, run a final check on all our special systems, Morrison ordered. I want to know that everything is working perfectly. All systems are functioning within normal parameters, Athena replied. The temporal displacement array is ready. The Genesis protocol is ready. Quantum weapons are ready. These were the secrets that Earth had developed in the 50 years since joining the galactic community. While other species had spent millions of years perfecting the same old weapons and defenses, humans had started from scratch. They had built something completely new. Morrison looked out at the stars ahead. Somewhere out there, two ancient enemies were preparing to destroy each other, and probably half the galaxy with them. In a few hours, he would sail his ship right into the middle of the biggest battle in galactic history. He was either going to save the galaxy or die trying. All hands, prepare for battle, Morrison announced over the ship's communication system. We're about to make history. 3 months earlier, President Helen Carter sat in the Oval Office, staring at a message that had arrived from space. The president was a woman in her 50s, with silver hair and the kind of calm face that came from making hard decisions. But this decision was harder than any she had ever faced. They're asking us to do what? She said to General Peter Shaw, who stood beside her desk in his military uniform. End the war, Shaw replied. The Galactic Council has tried everything else. They think maybe humans can find a way that nobody else has thought of. Carter looked at the alien message again. It was written in simple English, but the words seemed impossible. The Zephyrians and Nexari had been fighting for 800,000 years. Their war had killed more people than had ever lived on Earth. And now the galaxy's oldest civilizations were asking the newest one for help. Why us? Carter asked. We've only been in space for 50 years. Most of these aliens have been traveling between stars since before humans learned to make fire. Shaw smiled, but it was not a happy smile. That's exactly why they're asking us. Everyone else thinks like they do. We think differently. In another part of the building, Dr. Susan Blake was working on something that would change everything. Blake was a small woman with wild black hair and eyes that seemed to see things others missed. She was the head of Project Harmony, Earth's most secret program. The problem isn't the war, Blake explained to her team of scientists. The problem is that both sides have the same kind of thinking. They both believe that the only way to win is to be stronger than the other guy. They've been building bigger weapons and better defenses for thousands of centuries. One of her assistants, a young man named Dr. Kevin Hart, raised his hand. So what do we do differently? Blake grinned. We don't try to be stronger. We try to be smarter. We build weapons that work in ways they can't understand. We build defenses that don't make sense to them. We show them that their whole way of thinking about war is wrong. The team had been working day and night for 2 years. They had studied every piece of alien technology they could find. They had learned about weapons that could destroy stars and shields that could stop black holes. Then they had thrown it all away and started over. Humans have always been good at one thing, Blake continued. We're good at finding new ways to solve old problems. When we couldn't fly, we didn't try to grow wings. We built airplanes. When we couldn't breathe underwater, we didn't try to grow gills. We built submarines. The real work was happening in secret shipyards orbiting Earth. Commander Tyler Stone walked through the halls of the USS Defiance, checking every system personally. Stone was Morrison's best friend and his second in command. He was a tall man with dark skin and hands that were always moving, always fixing something. "This ship doesn't look like much," Stone said to Chief Engineer Beth Rodriguez. "But it's going to change everything." Rodriguez was a tough woman from Texas who could fix anything that broke and improve anything that worked. She had been in charge of building the Defiance's special systems. "It better," she said, "because if it doesn't work, we're all going to die very quickly." The Defiance looked like a normal human warship from the outside. It was 2 kilometers long, with smooth metal sides and engines that glowed blue. But inside, it was completely different from any ship ever built. The walls were filled with technology that bent the laws of physics in ways that made alien scientists cry. "The temporal displacement array is the key," Rodriguez explained as they walked past a room filled with strange machines. "It lets us step outside normal space and time. We can be there and not there at the same time. Their weapons can't hit us because we're not really there." Stone nodded. He had studied the plans until his eyes hurt, but he still didn't fully understand how it worked. "And the Genesis Protocol? That's the really crazy part," Rodriguez said. "We can rebuild things at the atomic level. We can take a dead planet and bring it back to life. We can fix anything they broke." The crew of the Defiance had been training for months. They were all volunteers, all the best Earth had to offer. Jake Morrison had been chosen to lead them because he was the kind of person who could make impossible decisions without falling apart. "The plan is simple," Morrison told his crew during their final briefing. "We're going to fly into the middle of the biggest battle in galactic history. We're going to show both sides that fighting is useless. And we're going to do it without killing anyone." Lieutenant Amy Burke raised her hand. "Captain, what if they don't want to stop fighting? What if they decide to shoot us instead?" Morrison looked at her with steady eyes. "Then we show them that shooting us won't work. We show them that everything they think they know about war is wrong. We show them that humans have found a better way." The ship's AI, Athena, had been programmed with every piece of information about the war. She knew the history, the battles, the weapons, the leaders. She could think faster than any human and calculate possibilities that would take years to figure out by hand. "Based on my analysis," Athena said in her calm voice, "there is a 67% chance that our mission will end the war. There is a 31% chance that we will be destroyed before we can complete our mission. There is a 2% chance of something unexpected happening." Morrison smiled. "I like those odds." Dr. Carl Whitney had been studying the psychology of both alien species. "The Zephyrians think in terms of crystal matrices," he explained. "Everything is about structure and order. The Nexari think in terms of biological adaptation. Everything is about growth and change. But both species think about war the same way, as a problem to be solved with more power." "And humans?" Morrison asked. "Humans think about war as a problem to be solved with better ideas," Whitney said. "We're about to prove that better ideas beat more power." The night before they left Earth, Morrison stood in his quarters, looking out at the stars. In a few hours, he would be responsible for ending a war that had lasted longer than human civilization. He thought about all the things that could go wrong, all the ways they could fail, but he also thought about all the things that could go right. If they succeeded, billions of lives would be saved. Whole star systems could be rebuilt. The galaxy could finally know peace. A message came through on his communication device. It was from Admiral Lisa Grant, the head of Earth Space. "Fleet, Jake, the whole planet is watching. Don't let us down." Morrison smiled and turned off the device. He wouldn't let them down. He couldn't. Too much was at stake. The USS Defiance launched from Earth orbit at exactly 0800 hours. As it disappeared into hyperspace, carrying 50 humans toward the greatest battle in galactic history, President Carter stood at her window, watching the stars. "Good luck," she whispered to the empty sky. The USS Defiance dropped out of hyperspace and into hell. Captain Jake Morrison gripped the arms of his command chair as the ship's sensors showed him what they were facing. Spread across the Kepler Nebula were 20,000 alien warships, 10,000 on each side, preparing for the final battle of an 800,000-year war. "Sweet Mother of God," whispered Lieutenant Amy Burke, her voice barely audible over the bridge's humming computers. The Zephyrian fleet stretched across space like a wall of diamonds. Their ships were made of living crystal that caught and reflected the light from nearby stars. Each vessel looked like a giant jewel, beautiful and deadly. The smallest ships were a kilometer long. The largest were bigger than Earth's moon. On the other side, the Nexari fleet looked like something from a nightmare. Their ships were alive, made of metal and flesh twisted together in ways that hurt to look at. They pulsed like giant hearts, with weapons that looked like claws and teeth. Some of the ships were changing shape even as Morrison watched, growing new weapons or armor. And right in the middle, looking tiny and fragile, sat the USS Defiance. "Captain," said Lieutenant Danny Cooper from the communication station, "we're being hailed by both fleets. They want to know who we are and why we're here." Morrison stood up slowly. Around him, his crew worked at their stations, their faces pale but determined. They had known this moment would come, but seeing it was different from imagining it. "Put me through to both fleets," Morrison said. The main screen split in two. On one side appeared a Zephyrian commander, a being that looked like a walking sculpture made of blue crystal. Light moved through its body like blood through veins. On the other side was a Nexari war leader, a creature that was part machine, part animal, with metal teeth and glowing red eyes. "I am High Commander Zex Theri of the Zephyrian Empire," the crystal being spoke with a voice like wind chimes. "You are in a war zone, humans. Leave immediately or be destroyed." "I am Bioprime Nexus 7 of the Nexari Collective," the other creature said in a voice like grinding metal. "Your species is unknown to us. Withdraw or become test subjects for our weapons." Morrison looked at both aliens with steady eyes. "I am Captain Jake Morrison of the Earthship USS Defiance. I'm here to end your war." Both aliens stared at him. Then they started laughing. The Zephyrians' laughter sounded like breaking glass. The Nexari's laughter sounded like a machine tearing itself apart. "End our war?" Zex Theri said. "Small human. This conflict has raged since before your species existed. What could children like you possibly do?" Nexus 7's red eyes glowed brighter. "We have been perfecting the art of war for 800,000 years. Your entire civilization is barely 50 years old in space. You are insects compared to us." Morrison smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. "That's exactly why we can end your war. You've been fighting for so long. You've forgotten that there might be other ways to solve problems." Dr. Carl Whitney stepped forward. "Captain, I'm reading massive energy buildups in both fleets. They're preparing to attack. And they're preparing to attack us too," added Lieutenant Burke. "I count over 1,000 ships targeting our position." Morrison nodded. He had expected this. "Athena, are all our systems ready?" The ship's AI responded immediately. "All systems are functioning perfectly, Captain. The temporal displacement array is charged and ready. Quantum weapons are online. Genesis protocol is standing by." "Both of you listen carefully," Morrison said to the alien commanders. I'm going to give you one chance to end this war peacefully. Call off your attack. Sit down and talk. Find a way to share the galaxy without killing each other. Scifistories? Crystal body flashed with angry light. We do not negotiate with insects. The Nexari will be destroyed today, after 800,000 years of war. Nexus 7's metal claws extended from its hands. The Zephyrians will be consumed and recycled. This is the day we have been preparing for since the war began. Morrison sighed. I was hoping you'd say that. He turned to his crew. Red alert. All hands to battle stations. Prepare for combat. Alarms sounded throughout the ship. The bridge lighting changed from white to red. Around Morrison, his crew moved with practiced efficiency, their hands dancing over control panels, their voices calm and professional. Captain, said Chief Petty Officer Nick Johnson from the weapons station, both fleets are moving into attack position. They're going to hit us with everything they have. Let them, Morrison said. Sergeant Santos, are your Marines ready? Sergeant Maria Santos spoke from the security station. Ready for anything, Captain. Though I'm not sure what we're supposed to be ready for. Morrison looked at the tactical display. The Zephyrian fleet was forming a crystal wall, their ships, linking together to create a single massive weapon. The Nexari fleet was spreading out like a living net, their ships growing new weapons and armor. Dr. Whitney, give me a power estimate, Morrison ordered. Whitney's face was pale as he read his instruments. Captain, they have enough firepower to crack a star. If they hit us with everything they have, there won't be enough left of us to fill a coffee cup. Good thing they're not going to hit us, Morrison said. Lieutenant Burke, prepare for evasive maneuvers. But not the kind they're expecting. Burke's hands moved over her controls. Temporal displacement array is ready, Captain. Weaken phase. Out of normal space on your command. The communication channels crackled with alien voices. Both fleets were coordinating their attacks, making sure they could destroy the small human ship before it could escape. Morrison listened to their plans and smiled. They're treating us like a normal ship, he said. They think we're going to run or fight like everyone else does. They have no idea what we can really do. Lieutenant Sam Wright, the helm officer, looked back from his station. Captain, should I take us out of range? No, Morrison said. Take. Use right into the middle of both fleets. I want to be close enough to see their faces when they realize they can't hurt us. The USS Defiance moved forward, a tiny dot of metal and hope sailing toward 20,000 ships they could each destroy. A planet. Behind them, the empty space of the Kepler Nebula waited silently, as if holding its breath. Incoming fire, shouted Johnson. Both fleets are firing everything they have. The space around the Defiance erupted with weapons fire. Crystal beams that could slice through moons, bioweapons that could eat through any armor, plasma cannons that burned hotter than stars. Enough firepower to destroy 100 worlds focused on one small human ship. Morrison sat in his command chair, watching death approach at the speed of light. Now, he said quietly, the USS Defiance disappeared. The weapons fire from 20,000 ships passed through empty space where the USS Defiance had been a moment before. Crystal beams and bioweapons and plasma cannons hit nothing but vacuum and nebula dust. On the bridge of the Defiance, Captain Jake Morrison watched the tactical display with satisfaction. The ship had phased out of normal space-time, existing in a state that no alien scientist had ever imagined possible. They could see the battle, but the battle could not see them. Report, Morrison said calmly. All systems normal, replied Lieutenant Amy Burke. The temporal displacement array is working perfectly. We're existing in a quantum state between dimensions. Their weapons can't touch us because we're not really here. Dr. Carl Whitney looked up from his science station, his face excited. Captain, the energy readings from both fleets are incredible. They're confused and scared. They don't understand what happened to us. On the main screen, Morrison could see both alien fleets searching for the human ship. Zephyrian crystal ships, pulsed with angry light, scanning every piece of space around them. Nexari bioships extended new sensor organs, trying to find their target. "They're talking to each other," said Lieutenant Danny Cooper. "Both fleets are demanding to know what happened. They're actually working together to find us." Morrison smiled. "Good. Maybe this will teach them that they have more in common than they thought." He stood up and walked to the center of the bridge. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to do something that no one in galactic history has ever done. We're going to show two ancient civilizations that their way of thinking about war is completely wrong." Lieutenant Sam Wright at the helm station looked nervous. "Captain, what exactly are we going to do?" "We're going to phase back into normal space," Morrison said, "but not all at once. We're going to appear and disappear, move through there. Ships like ghosts. Show them that everything they think they know about physics is wrong." Dr. Linda Parker, the quantum engineer, spoke up from her station. "Captain, I've been monitoring the quantum field. The alien ships are generating massive amounts of energy trying to find us. If we phase back in at the wrong moment, we could destabilize their entire fleets." "That's the idea," Morrison said. "Not to hurt them, but to show them how helpless they are against technology they don't understand." He turned to his crew. "Remember, we're not here to fight. We're here to end a war. Everything we do from this moment forward is about showing them that fighting is useless." Morrison nodded to Burke. "Phase us back in." Right in the middle of the Zephyrian fleet, the USS Defiance materialized between two massive crystal ships, so close that Morrison could see the alien crew members inside. The Zephyrian ships immediately opened fire, but the Defiance phased out again before the weapons could hit. "Now appear inside the Nexari formation," Morrison ordered. The ship phased back in, this time surrounded by bioships that looked like giant insects. The Nexari weapons fired, but again the Defiance vanished before they could connect. "Captain," said Chief Petty Officer Nick Johnson, "both fleets are going crazy. They're firing at each other, thinking the other side is using some kind of new weapon." Morrison watched the tactical display. The ancient enemies were so confused and frightened that they were making mistakes, firing at shadows, hitting their own ships by accident. "It's working," he said. "They're learning that their weapons are useless against us. Now we show them what real power looks like." He turned to Dr. Parker. "Activate the Genesis protocol. Target that dead planet over there." Parker's hands moved over her controls. Genesis protocol online. Selecting target planet designation Kepler 7. The planet was destroyed in a battle 3,000 years ago. On the main screen, Morrison could see the dead world. It was nothing but rock and metal, a lifeless ball of debris where millions of people had once lived. Both alien fleets had destroyed it during one of their battles, then forgotten about it. "Begin reconstruction," Morrison ordered. The USS Defiance fired a beam of pure energy at the dead planet, but this was not a weapon. This was something completely different, something that alien science had never imagined. The beam touched the planet's surface, and immediately things began to change. The dead rock started to shift and flow like liquid. New land appeared, then oceans, then clouds. In the space of 10 minutes, the dead world came back to life. "My God," whispered Dr. Whitney, "we're actually doing it. We're rebuilding an entire planet." The alien fleets stopped shooting and stared. On their communication channels, voices spoke in wonder and fear. They were seeing the impossible, a dead world brought back to life by a species they had dismissed as children. "Both fleets are trying to scan the planet," Cooper reported. "They can't believe what they're seeing," Morrison smiled. "Now they're starting to understand. We're not just another species with bigger guns. We're something completely different. The restored planet continued to change. Green plants appeared on the continents. Weather patterns formed in the atmosphere. The world that had been dead for 3,000 years was alive again. Phase us back into normal space, Morrison ordered. Right between both fleets. I want to talk to them. The Defiance appeared in the middle of the battlefield, no longer hiding. Morrison stood on his bridge, looking at the alien ships that surrounded them. "This is Captain Morrison," he said over the communication channels. "I hope you're paying attention. What you just saw was not a weapon. It was a tool. We can rebuild anything you destroy. We can bring back any world you kill. We can restore any life you end." The alien commanders appeared on his screen again. But this time, they were not laughing. Zextheri's crystal body was dim with shock. Nexus 7's red eyes were wide with something that might have been fear. "How?" Zextheri asked. "How is this possible?" "Your species are old," Morrison said. "You've had millions of years to perfect your weapons and defenses. But you've been thinking about war the same way for so long that you've forgotten there might be other ways." Nexus 7 leaned forward. "What are you saying, human?" "I'm saying that we're not going to fight you," Morrison said. "We're not going to try to be stronger than you. We're going to show you that strength doesn't matter. We're going to show you that everything you've been fighting for is meaningless." Lieutenant Burke spoke quietly. "Captain, I'm reading power buildups in both fleets again. They're preparing for another attack." Morrison nodded. He had expected this. They're not ready to give up yet. They still think they can win if they just hit us hard enough. He turned to his crew. "Prepare for the final demonstration. It's time to show them what humans are really capable of." The alien fleets moved into attack formation again. But this time, Morrison could see uncertainty in their movements. They had seen their weapons fail. They had seen a dead world brought back to life. They were beginning to understand that they were facing something beyond their experience. "All weapons firing," Johnson reported. Once again, the space around the Defiance erupted with deadly energy. But this time, Morrison did not order the ship to phase out. Instead, he did something that no one expected. "Redirect all incoming fire to the space between the fleets," he ordered. The ship's quantum weapons reached out and grabbed the alien weapon's fire, bending it, twisting it, sending it away from the Defiance and into empty space. 20,000 ships fired their most powerful weapons, and all of that energy simply disappeared. "Impossible," Zextheri whispered. "Nothing is impossible," Morrison replied. "You just have to think about it differently." The time had come for the final lesson. Captain Jake Morrison stood in the center of his bridge, surrounded by 20,000 alien warships that had just learned their weapons were useless. The silence in space was deafening. For the first time in 800,000 years, the Zephyrian and Nexari fleets had stopped shooting. "Captain," said Lieutenant Amy Burke, her voice barely above a whisper, "both fleets are dead in space. They're not moving, not firing, not doing anything. I think we broke them." Morrison looked at the tactical display. The crystal ships of the Zephyrians floated like frozen diamonds, their light dim and confused. The bioships of the Nexari had stopped pulsing, their organic weapons withdrawn like frightened animals. "They're scared," said Dr. Carl Whitney. "After 800,000 years of war, they finally met something they can't fight." Morrison nodded. "Now comes the hard part. We have to show them that we're not their enemy. We have to show them what peace looks like." He turned to Lieutenant Danny Cooper. "Open a channel to both fleets. I want every ship to hear this." Cooper's hands moved over his controls. "Channel open, Captain. You're broadcasting to all 20,000 ships." Morrison took a deep breath. "This is Captain Morrison of the USS Defiance. I know you're confused. I know you're scared. You've just seen technology that doesn't make sense to you. You've seen your most powerful weapons fail. You've seen a dead world brought back to life. He paused, looking at the faces of his crew. They were all watching him, waiting to see what he would do next. But I'm not here to conquer you, Morrison continued. I'm not here to rule you. I'm here to save you from yourselves. On the main screen, the alien commanders appeared again. High Commander Zex Theory looked like a crystal statue, beautiful and fragile. Bio Prime Nexus 7 looked like a machine that had forgotten how to work. What do you want from us? Zex Theory asked. Morrison smiled. I want you to remember what you were fighting for. 800,000 years ago, this war started over crystal mines. Do you even remember which mines? Do you remember what made them so important? The alien commanders looked at each other, then back at Morrison. Neither of them spoke. You don't remember, Morrison said, because it doesn't matter anymore. You've been fighting for so long that you've forgotten what you were fighting for. You've been killing each other for hundreds of thousands of years over something that probably wasn't worth fighting about in the first place. Nexus 7's red eyes dimmed. But we cannot stop. We have lost too much. Too many of our people are dead. The war must continue until one side wins. No, Morrison said firmly. The war ends now, today, in the next 20 minutes. He turned to Dr. Emma Davis, the quantum physicist. Dr. Davis, prepare the Genesis Protocol for full planetary reconstruction. I want you to restore every world that was destroyed in this war. Davis's eyes went wide. Captain, that's over 10,000 planets. The energy requirements alone would. We have the energy, Morrison said. We've been building it up for this moment. Show them what creation looks like instead of destruction. The USS Defiance began to glow with a light that was not quite light, an energy that was not quite energy. The ship's Genesis protocol reached out across the galaxy, touching every dead world, every destroyed moon, every shattered asteroid that had once been someone's home, and they began to come back to life. On the view screen, Morrison could see the faces of the alien commanders change. Wonder replaced fear. Hope replaced anger. They were watching their dead worlds return to life, their lost civilizations restored, their people brought back from extinction. This is impossible, Zexthery whispered. The energy requirements, the complexity. No one has this kind of power. We do, Morrison said. And we're giving it to you for free. No conditions, no demands, no tribute. We're giving you back everything you lost in this war. Nexus 7 leaned forward. Why? What do you gain from this? Morrison smiled. Peace, that's all we want. An end to the longest war in galactic history. A chance for both your species to build something better than weapons. Lieutenant Burke spoke up. Captain, I'm reading massive energy signatures from both fleets. They're powering down their weapons. Morrison nodded. They're starting to understand. When you can rebuild anything that gets destroyed, war becomes meaningless. There's no point in fighting when your enemy can just fix whatever you break. Commander Tyler Stone, Morrison's second-in-command, walked onto the bridge. Captain, we're getting messages from all over the galaxy. The Galactic Council wants to know what we've done. Other species are asking if we can help them with their problems too. Morrison looked at his crew. They had done it. They had ended an 800,000-year war in 50 minutes. But more than that, they had shown the galaxy that there was a better way to solve problems. Dr. Whitney, Morrison said, how many worlds have we restored? Whitney checked his instruments. 12,437 worlds, Captain, all showing signs of life. Oceans, atmosphere, vegetation. It's like the war never happened. Morrison turned back to the alien commanders. Both of your species are builders. The Zephyrians create beautiful crystal cities. The Nexari grow amazing biotechnology. You've spent 800,000 years destroying each other's work. What could you build together? Zextheri's crystal body began to glow brighter. Together? We are enemies. We have always been enemies. No, Morrison said. You were competitors. There's a difference. Competitors try to be better than each other. Enemies try to destroy each other. You forgot how to compete and learned only how to destroy. Nexus 7's metal claws retracted. But how can we trust each other? How can we be? Sure the other side won't attack again? Morrison smiled. Because now you know that attacking is useless. You've seen what happens when you try to fight us. And we'll be watching. If either of you starts this war again, we'll be back. He gestured to the restored worlds on the view screen. But more than that, look what you can accomplish when you work together. Imagine what you could build if you spent the next 800,000 years creating instead of destroying. Chief Medical Officer John Miller stepped forward. Captain, we're receiving requests for medical assistance. Both fleets have wounded from the battle preparations. Permission to offer aid? Granted, Morrison said. Sergeant Santos, prepare medical teams for both species. Let's show them what cooperation looks like. Sergeant Maria Santos nodded. Already on it, Captain. We've got medical supplies that can work with both crystal and biotechnology. Over. The next hour, something miraculous happened. Human medical teams beamed over to alien ships, treating wounded Zephyrians and Nexari side by side. For the first time in 800,000 years, members of both species were in the same room, without trying to kill each other. Captain, said Lieutenant Cooper, we're getting reports from the restored worlds. People are coming back. The Genesis Protocol didn't just rebuild the planets, it brought back the people who lived there. Morrison felt a chill run down his spine. How many people? Billions, Cooper replied. The quantum reconstruction brought back everyone who died in the war. They're confused, scared, but they're alive. On the main screen, both alien commanders looked stunned. The war had not only ended, it had been undone. Everyone who had died was alive again. Every world that had been destroyed was whole again. This changes everything, Zextheri said quietly. That's the point, Morrison replied. 800,000 years of war, and nothing really changed. Both your species are still here. Both your species are still strong. All that death and destruction was for nothing. Nexus 7 spoke slowly. Our people will need time to understand this. We have been at war for so long that we have forgotten how to live in peace. We'll help you remember, Morrison said. Humans are good at that. We've ended wars before. We know how to build peace. Admiral Robert Clark's voice came over the communication system. Captain Morrison, this is Admiral Clark. The Earth Fleet is arriving to provide support. The President wants to congratulate you on a job well done. Morrison looked around his bridge at his crew. They had done the impossible. They had ended the longest war in galactic history without firing a single shot in anger. They had shown the galaxy that there was a better way to solve problems. Thank you, Admiral, Morrison said. But we're not done yet. We have a peace to build. He turned to the alien commanders. High Commander Zextheri, Bioprime Nexus 7, I invite you both to join me aboard the USS Defiance. It's time to write a new chapter in galactic history. 2 hours later, the leaders of both alien species sat in the Defiance's conference room, talking instead of fighting. Outside the windows, their fleets had formed a mixed formation, crystal ships and bioships flying together for the first time in 800,000 years. The Kepler Accords, Morrison said, looking at the treaty they had just signed, named after the sector where the longest war in galactic history ended, where peace finally began. Zextheri's crystal body pulsed with gentle light. Captain Morrison, your species has given us something we had forgotten existed. Hope. Nexus 7's red eyes had dimmed to a soft amber. We owe you a debt that can never be repaid. How can we thank you? Morrison stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the mixed fleet. Build something beautiful, he said. Work together. Show the galaxy that the future is better than the past.